Good morning, people. Good morning. It's Wednesday, the 6th of October. It's 8:04. I feel like I need a jingle at this point, like you get on the radio. How are you doing? Are you all right? Um, it's good. I'm feeling busy, I have to say, and it's good to check in with you before I start my day. Got lots of things. I'm gonna today. I'm gonna do one of the things that I don't often do, which is make a to-do list. Because I have my trusted system, and as you've probably heard me talk about before, um, trusted systems are not like to-do lists. To-do lists are often made when you're in crisis. I'm not feeling in crisis, to be fair. I've just got some things that are on my mind that I want to do, just to get them out of the way so they're done, because I'll feel so much better. And that reminded me of a book. And then you know how the stars align. That reminded me of a book that I've read, which then I was then flicking through Facebook this morning while I was having breakfast, and somebody, one of my Facebook friends, ex-student of some university, posted a thing. Note to self: when things feel overwhelming, remember, one thought at a time, one task at a time, one day at a time. And this comes at exactly the same moment that I've been thinking about Keller and Papazan's book, The One Thing. And The One Thing, they simply say that when you're kind of feeling overwhelmed and stressed and things are difficult, um, ask yourself, what's the one thing I could do that in doing so, that in doing it, everything would just seem so much easier. And sometimes there is that thing in it that's just in your head, and I kind of interpret that. I have this little phrase. You tend to mention what has your attention, or you tend to keep kind of getting drawn back to the thing that's causing you the most trouble. Maybe you don't even think it's the thing that's causing you the most trouble, but I think if you're thinking of something regularly, something's popping into your head regularly, then maybe it's something you need to get onto. Maybe it's one of your frogs, the eat your frogs analogy. Maybe it's one of your frogs. Um, but it's important, isn't it, that when you discover that one thing, you get on with that one thing. Um, and you do it to the exclusion of everything else. So that's this one thought at a time leads to one task at a time. We're going to take one day at a time, because sometimes that's all you can do. So that's what I'm going to do today. I've got a bunch of things that are just in my head. They've ended up as tasks in my daily kind of list on my calendar. I manage it by having things that I want to get done at some point, but I haven't got a time slot. They go in as a daily task, and they move around, and then I do them eventually. And there's just a few things in there that have come up lately that I think, right, I need to get them done. And not only then, what I then sometimes do in the morning is make those into a to-do list. So I suppose my task list is a subset of my trusted system. It's not a thing in itself. Yeah, so that's really important. But then I was having a dig around in the one thing, thinking I just because I kind of put notes in and underline things. So I was having a bit of a dig around. This is the book. This is the book. It's very good. It's one of the ones that I read early on in my productivity drive, desire, finding out, research, whatever you want to call it. And so I just flicked through. I thought, oh well, I'm here. Before I start my thing, my live thing, I'll have a flick through it and see what I underlined. Didn't underline as much as I underline these days. Sometimes I underline so much in a book, I think I might as well have just underlined the stuff I wasn't interested in. And I came across this, and it's about how we manage time. And it says that one of the problems in the modern workplace is the way we try to manage time, that we're not structured enough. And obviously this appealed to me because it feels like planning. But what they said was that we should schedule around two things. We should have a maker's schedule and a manager's schedule. And that's about self. That's not about your manager giving you a schedule or whatever, or even about making things in that kind of sense of it, I suppose. But you should have a maker's schedule and a manager's schedule. And you should divide your time into those things. And when you are considering your maker's schedule, set aside as big a block of time as possible, because that's when you're going to do your deep work. So that's when you're making things, if you like. Yeah, so that's when you're making things. So might be making a lecture, or I might be making a report, or I might be, I suppose, delivering a lecture is kind of making an event, I suppose, isn't it? So the making time is your deep work, but you also need manager time, you also need a manager's schedule somewhere where you manage all of that stuff. And I thought, well, that's simply like me talking about planning, isn't it? That's simply me talking about having a half hour at the start of the day where you plan, then you get into deep work and you plan again. But I really like that. So we need to think of ourselves as managers of ourselves and then makers of things, and divide our time up in that way, and set sufficient time aside to manage everything, but then big blocks of time to make things. Yeah, to get reports made, or to get lectures made, or to get events made, make them into a reality, I suppose. So I just thought it was really interesting. He says, divide your time off into two buckets: maker or creation time, and manager or overseeing and directing time. So I think I quite like that analogy, and it kind of fits with the sort of stuff that I talked about. So those kind of things coalesced, the note to self, which is one thought at a time, one task at a time, one day at a time. Me thinking about the one thing, because I've been waking up in the morning and this one thing has been coming into my head when I've been waking up in the morning straight away. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's got my attention, so let's just get that done, because then I won't have to think about it anymore. Do you know what I mean? And it's something that happened a couple of weeks back that I keep thinking, when I have a slot of time, I must do that. And it's in my calendar. I keep moving it to the next day, or I move it to next week, kind of thing. If I think, well, I'm not going to get time this week, so right, let's just do it. Because by doing that one thing, everything else will seem so much better. Because I'll think, right, I've nailed that. People have got what they need from me for that thing. So I'll get that done, and then that'll free up my psychological capacity to not have to think about it. And that's what David Allen calls open loops, isn't it? It's that thing where he says, if they go round and round in our heads all the time, they eat up our psychological capacity to focus on other tasks. So there you are. So in terms of setting a priority, and remember, priority is singular. That's why this one thing idea is really important. Priority is a singular word. You can only have one priority. And if there's something troubling you, kind of, well, what's that one thing? What's the one thing that you could do? Then doing it would make everything else seem a lot better. And that's Keller and Paterson's concept from their book, The One Thing. So there you go. So I'm going to crack on now. Lots to do, and I'm always excited when there's lots to do, because what I know is when I tick all that stuff off, by the end of the day, I'll feel really good about achieving stuff. So good luck with Wednesday, Hump Day. Good luck with Wednesday, and we'll see you again soon. All right, take care.